What's up, YouTube? My name is Trent Wel-Don. Welcome back to my channel, Wel-Don Aquatics. So today we're doing a follow-up video on the Petsmart build. We know we got water in it, we know we got the filtration running, and we're waiting for it to cycle. Now that's something we didn't delve in too far, didn't talk much about, so that's something I want to discuss more in today's video, so stick around. So in some of my videos we've heard me talk about how we're cycling this media or seeding this media with beneficial bacteria in order to help the fish survive in that aquarium. So what we mean by when I say cycle is we're waiting for beneficial bacteria to grow in a quantity that will eat the ammonia and nitrite that is forming in the tank. So it's going to process that ammonia, in it, for a better word. Now, where does ammonia come from? The biggest way we're going to get ammonia in our tank is with fish food. Food breaks down in the water column. Now, we know that ammonia is toxic. Ammonia is going to kill fish. No good ammonia. But if we give our aquarium enough time to cycle or to season itself with beneficial bacteria, we don't have to worry about that ammonia. So from the ammonia, that is going to break down to what we call nitrite. Now again, nitrite is deadly. It's the byproduct of ammonia, so it's still not good to have in the aquarium. More ammonia you have, the more nitrite you're going to have. Now we need that to now break down into nitrate. So how do we do that? Well, we go back to that same the same beneficial bacteria we've been talking about. Now we have what we call aerobic bacteria and anaerobic bacteria. Now those are some crazy big words. I'm still fully understanding those, but here's a simple breakdown. Aerobic bacteria is the bacteria that we're using in the 75. That is the main bacteria we're using in my 75 gallon. If you remember when we went through the filtration on the tour of my fish room, I showed you how I'm using a trickle tower sump. Now what that's doing is that as water comes over the media, it is aerating that bacteria. It's aerating the media because it's not fully submerged. So that is what we use aerobic bacteria. It's a very beneficial bacteria. Now the anaerobic is a fully submerged bacteria. It doesn't need as much air to grow and it's not going to populate as fast. That's one reason why an aerobic style of filtration is so beneficial. But I got best of both worlds on the 75. You see, after it goes through that aerobic bacteria, I have parts of my sump that I have fully submerged media in, and I'm getting anaerobic bacteria. Now you may be saying, but I'm using a hang on the back filter. How am I going to get both anaerobic and aerobic bacteria? So I'm using a hang on the back as part of it on my 40-gallon breeder with the puffer fish. The way I have that set up is that my media is just under the water surface of the hang on the back. So through that process of forcing water through it, it's not a sealed container. There's no airtight seals on that, so we're still allowing some air to get in there. As you know, if you ever have a hang on the back and you notice where the water exits, you're going to get some bubbles forming. That's air. So even with a hang on the back filter, we can still achieve anaerobic and aerobic bacteria. I just supersized it in my sump. That's something like a canister filter. I have one on the 40-gallon breeder. That is a submerged style of filtration because we do need a watertight seal on that so it doesn't flood everywhere when you put the hoses on and run water through it. So that's giving us a lot of anaerobic bacteria. So now we know that ammonia is going to break down to nitrite. Nitrite is going to break down to nitrate. Now the nitrate, this is where this is where plants are going to come into play because they are beneficial. Plants thrive off nitrate. Now if you have too high of nitrate counts in your tank, that's an issue. But if you add plants like I have in the 75, I have in the 40, I've even got floating plants in my guppy tank, those are all taking up nitrate. Now a big one that's super cheap, you can find at Home Depot, Lowe's, really anywhere that sells hanging plants, is a plant called the pothos plant. It comes in a big basket. They're like $5-8 a piece. But all you need to do is break off a stem and sit it in your tank. Put it in the back of your hang on the back filter. Put a piece in your sump. And the roots will change to grow submerged. The rest of the plant will be hanging out of the tank. That way it's going to have an unlimited supply of CO2. That plant will suck up so many nitrates that if you're not careful and have other plants in your tank, it can actually outcompete other plants. So if you've got an algae problem in your tank and you don't have any other plants, but you don't really want plants, that's not the look you're going for, stick a piece of pothos in. Fish aren't going to bug it. Fish aren't going to eat it. It's hanging just barely in your tank, and you can. I've seen people come up with some pretty creative ways to put a basket around it. I mean, it is a nitrate sucker, and it's cheap. But in my tank, since I run a lot of plants, nitrates aren't a problem. A quick and dirty rundown of the ammonia cycle, or the nitrogen cycle that we're going to call it. So what we talk about cycling a tank, it's not the tank. We can get water in there and start to pump. Ooh, I got water cycling. What we're really talking about is we're getting the media ready to handle the ammonia bioload that's going to come. You add a fish. Fish goes to the bathroom. That waste will break down into ammonia. But again, the biggest culprit is fish food. So we're going to go over more of this as we've been waiting for this Petsmart tank to cycle. We're really waiting for that beneficial bacteria to seed itself, and we know that we got a head start on that with the beneficial bacteria in a bottle, or the bacteria supplement in a bottle. I wanted to use my API Freshwater Master Test Kit, and I want to test the water in the Petsmart tank to see where we're at with the cycle. So I'm going to go ahead and get that test set up, and we'll come back and we'll talk about it. Alright guys, so we got the test ran on the Petsmart tank there. And so left to right, well, starting with the green solution, make sure I get the right one. That is the ammonia. The middle is nitrite, and the end is nitrate. Now, one reason why I like the API Master Test Kit so much is I feel it's more accurate because it's a liquid-based form rather than any like test strip you just dunk in your tank. You know, this test requires you to mix some solutions. It requires that you shake them, and it requires that you use their solution to create this test, and I think it's going to give you the most accurate. The other thing I like too is that they give you a test card. Well, yeah, looking at them, I totally got this backwards of how they're going to show up on the test. So one reason why I like that they provide this test card is that, okay, you now mix up your solution, and then you come to the test and look at it. Let's give you a readout. So this is the ammonia. Now all you do is it's this simple. Let me get this out of the way. You put it up to the card and you match it closest to what you think it is. Alright, so matching this up to the test kit on the ammonia one, I'm reading that we're about 2 parts per million ammonia. I like to read 0 parts per million ammonia. Next is our nitrite. Now this is a pretty deep purple, so I'm matching this up to the bottom. I'm at 5 parts per million of nitrite. Next is the nitrate. Now what I'm reading on this test is that I'm anywhere between 40 to 80 parts per million. Here's something that I know that this cycle is happening. 1, we have ammonia in there. Something is producing ammonia. I can tell you what here in just a second. 2, I've got nitrate. That means that I don't just have straight ammonia, something is processing that ammonia. And 3rd, we have nitrate. Again, something is processing that ammonia to nitrite to nitrate. Now with that one plant I have in there, this will help bring down that nitrate levels and grow. But that is how you run an API Master Test Kit, and this is how I can tell that this cycle is happening. It's a simple, quick test. And you know, the biggest thing on cycling an aquarium or seasoning it with beneficial bacteria is you have to be patient. Alright guys, so here is the Petsmart tank, the one that we were waiting for to cycle. Now if you see down here, over on the left up here, I did add in 3 pellets of food. Primarily because I knew as these broke down they were going to add extra ammonia. And you can kind of tell on the water surface where it breaks up the light. I've got what we call a biofilm going on. So this shows me that something is happening in this tank. So guys, there it is. There's the quick and rundown on the ammonia cycle, the nitrogen cycle, and where we're at with the Petsmart tank. We're really just waiting for it to cycle fully before we go out and buy some fish. So if this interests you, if you want to see more of these videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and tune in next time when we get more projects going here in Wel-Don Aquatics. Psych guys, that was not the end of the video. I realized I kind of ended that on a bad note, didn't explain a lot of things very well. So we're doing a kind of a time-lapse video. So it's been a couple days since we tested the water in the Petsmart tank to give you an idea of where our levels were at. We're talking the ammonia levels, the nitrite levels, and the nitrate levels primarily. Those three things what we're really worried about or interested in right now. So we tested it. I showed you the test results. We talked a little bit about how that nitrogen cycle works in a tank. We kind of delved into what we're waiting on to happen in the Petsmart tank, and we're really waiting for that ammonia to continue to break down into nitrite and then into nitrate. But I just feel like I didn't do it total justice, so we're adding a little bit on. Waiting for the beneficial bacteria to grow enough in a large amount or a quantity. We're waiting for the beneficial bacteria to grow in a quantity that is going to sustain life in that tank. Now that sounded like a lot of gibberish, a lot of Italian, maybe some Spanish in there. But we get confused, I think, and I've done this in the past, where we think it's the water that needs to be safe, or I don't know. It's not the water. It's not the water that needs to be safe. The only thing that really needs to be safe from the water is we're talking chlorine and chloramines. Yes, fish need water to survive, but we need something that's going to process the waste from the fish. We need something that's going to process the food that we add into the tank. So that is what I mean when I say we need the beneficial bacteria to grow in a quantity or a colony. I like that better. We need a colony of beneficial bacteria to grow so that we can sustain life in the Petsmart tank. So how does that happen? Well, that is the nitrogen cycle. The nitrogen cycle is the process of beneficial bacteria growing. Ammonia gets added into the tank, whether that be by a new fish has to go to the bathroom, that's ammonia. We add food into there, that breaks down, that's ammonia. Ammonia's toxic. So the ammonia has to convert into nitrite. Now, nitrite isn't as toxic as ammonia, but it's still not healthy to the fish. That's what the beneficial bacteria is doing, is breaking down the ammonia to nitrite. So there's step one. Now we need the nitrite to break down even further, and that's into the nitrate. Now this is where plants come involved, and this is one reason why I'm really excited for this tank right now. I'm going to show you here in just a second, and this is what actually got me thinking about adding this extra few minutes onto this video to help clarify some things. So we know that we added some plants into this tank. I've actually added a new plant in there. I don't think it's been on video yet. I'll talk about that here. So we've got two types of plants in this tank. So now we can say, all right, it's sustaining life. Sure, plants are life. They are a living thing. Those plants are helping to consume those nitrates. That is what we're using, in essence, to cycle this aquarium. But we're also, even a stronger sense, we're trying to season this aquarium. Yes, we need that ammonia cycle, the nitrogen cycle, to start. That is what's going to help sustain life. But I need a solid, seasoned bacteria that is going to sustain life for a very long period of time. Just like my 75 gallon in this fish room, that is what is my most seasoned tank in this fish room. That's been running the longest. Now let's get into why I'm really excited about the Petsmart tank right now and how I know even more that the nitrogen cycle is happening. How I know that ammonia is being broken down to nitrite and nitrite is being broken down to nitrate. We talked a little bit about that in the previous segment of this video, but now I've got a visual aid to help us even further. Alright, so if you've been following along on my channel and following this tank build, you're going to notice a few different things if you look really closely. Now first off, we're going to point out the obvious. I've got a new type of plant right here in the tank. That is a wisteria plant. That is a stem plant that I found at Petsmart, and I got it because I wanted to try something else in this tank. We can see that this dwarf Sagittaria is growing in really well. We've already got some new growth. It's getting longer. But I wanted something to add a little bit of contrast to it, as well as another hiding place for the fish that we're going to add into this tank. So these are the main two plants that we're using right now to consume the nitrates in this tank. Okay, I'm excited about plants. I love the plants in here, but I added those plants. Remember that. I personally put those plants in this tank. So let's get into why I am so excited about this tank and why I know that this nitrogen cycle is happening, as well as this tank is getting seasoned. This brown spot right here in the left-hand corner of the tank, the bottom left-hand corner, that is algae. Now I know I just broke the internet. Everybody probably just paused this video going, Trent, you are insane. Why are you so happy about algae? I hate algae. It's my arch nemesis. It makes my tanks cloudy. I hate removing it. Okay, but here's why I'm so excited about this. This algae here, the algae back here, all grew on its own. That means that we've got something happening in this tank that is sustaining life. There is a right condition in this tank for algae to grow. That is why I'm happy about this. Granted, I have been doing very long light cycles on this tank. I've been leaving the light on anywhere from 10 all the way up to 18 hours a day trying to get algae to grow. And the reason why I want algae to grow is that algae is going to assist in that nitrogen cycle. Algae is a type of plant. It's a living organism that will consume the excess nitrate in this tank. Now we know that the dwarf Sagittaria and the wisteria are doing their job since we've got good growth out of them, but the fact that we can grow algae all by its own means this tank can now support life. Now I haven't tested the actual parameters, the water parameters, the ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, to see where we're at since the last video, but I wanted to give you a quick update and show you what has happened since that last video. So that's why we did a time lapse, and I have combined these two videos into one, is it leads into the two things that I have probably learned the most in this hobby that I want to pass on. Now the first one is trial and error. You're going to try things, you're going to fail. Failure can quickly turn into a success because you now know something that doesn't work for you. Continue trying, try something new. The Petsmart tank, it's a fun one for me. I'll share a fail for you right now. I didn't look at the pump that came with this tank, and I thought it was too weak for this tank. I was getting a lot of biofilm, that skim on top of the surface. I believe I showed it in the last video. Well, come to find out, the little bit of research, that pump is adjustable. So I got a higher surface flow now. We got a stronger current in this tank, and I noticed that as soon as I bumped that up, algae started to grow. So we got better flow, better oxygenation. That's going to be all around better for this tank. And that pump is so easy to get out of the back of that filtration compartment. Now, but the second tip I have, and this is probably the most important thing I can possibly share from my experience in the aquarium hobby, is you have to have patience. So this past weekend I had a group of friends over, and of course everyone wants to come see the fish room. Everyone wants to come see what's going on in the fish room. Show me the puffer fish. Let's see this fish. I saw it on your Facebook page. I saw it on your YouTube channel. And then they ask about this tank. Well, where's the fish? Well, there is no fish. They're not in there yet. Oh, that's boring. Moving on. But then I try and explain to him in my nerdy, geeked out way of, no, but look, I grew algae. Yeah, but we're here to see fish. That's the thing, guys. You have to have patience in this hobby. We are creating an environment to house a living animal. So our goal is to give that the best opportunity to survive. And by doing that, we need to have patience. I would love to have fish in this tank right now. Another reason why I'm so excited about that algae, it means we're that much closer to adding fish to this tank. I honestly believe in the next 1, maximum 2 weeks, we're gonna have fish in this tank, and I'll do an updated video on that. We'll go over the stocking and why I chose it. Got a few ideas, but also in this process I've done a couple small water changes just to aid in removing excess ammonia, nitrite, nitrates. But as you can see, guys, this tank is starting to thrive. I think this has quickly become one of my favorite tanks in here on its nano scale. It's just gonna bring a whole new life to this. So I hope that helps kind of clarify what we're talking about. And I wish you the best of luck in what you're doing. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, leave a comment. If you got suggestions, let me know. But until next time, guys, I'm Trent Wel-Don, Wel-Don Aquatics. Have a good night.